This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Ready to go again. It's Sunday. It's a busy couple of hours straight ahead. NHL All-Star 3-on-3 busy at Amalie Arena this afternoon. We got lots of hockey talk in advance of that. And another great guest lineup. We are super loaded again today. Lots of folks in town in Tampa Bay for the NHL All-Star weekend. So we're trying to get what we can out of all of them to get lots of different ideas, thoughts, and perspectives. Our friend Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk will join us in hour number one. Vancouver Canucks radio analyst and mental health advocate Courier Hirsch also coming up in hour number one. And Joe Haggerty, who covers the Boston Bruins for NBC Sports in Boston, will also join us in hour number one. Dave Isaac, that covers the Philadelphia Flyers for the Courier Post, coming up. Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup, and he has been busy this weekend in Tampa. He's been on boats. He's been everywhere across the city with the Stanley Cup. We always enjoy a visit from Phil when he's able to join us and tells us tales of where he's been with Lord Stanley's Cup. He will be with us as well. And, of course, it being Sunday, yes, even though the National Hockey League has taken a few days off from regular season play, it gets going again quickly, so we've got the latest in fantasy info with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, from Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. So there you are. We're super loaded with guests this weekend. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, as always, are the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Todd at HockeyUnfiltered.com is the email. Hope you're having a good weekend. It's the last weekend of January. How did we get here so quickly? It seems like January moved along really fast. I'm good with it. Kind of get out of January. We're into February. It's the All-Star weekend activities. As I mentioned, the 3-on-3 games are going this afternoon. It'll be East versus West, and the winners get all kinds of great cash prizes and bragging rights. No doubt there'll be a couple of sodas or adult beverages of some sort in the dressing rooms after the game. Maybe a nice dinner somewhere out. You're in Florida, you're in Tampa, you're close to the coast. There's lots of good seafood. And then pretty quickly, we get back into NHL regular season play, the final third of the season. We now return to our regularly scheduled programming, if you will. But halfway through All-Star weekend in Tampa, everything seems to be going really well. Everybody's saying, isn't this great? Isn't this fantastic? The ginormous crowd in and around Amalie Arena on Saturday, an indication that there were lots of people ready to participate and lots of people embracing the Gasparilla Pirate Festival along with the NHL All-Star Weekend activities. Fans are enjoying it. Players seem to be having a pretty good time. Players getting into the spirit and getting into the mood. Everybody enjoying themselves in the skills competition on Saturday night. Now, nobody really broke a sweat during this thing, except for maybe one or two of the participants in the fastest skater, but nobody really breaks a sweat in this thing, and that's okay. It's not a complaint, just an observation. But it's really good to see the fans. They're all over the players in the building. There was a fantastic ovation for Brian Boyle as he skated out onto the ice and was introduced. He subbed, of course, for the injured Taylor Hall of the New Jersey Devils. He was a right choice. It was a great choice. Brian Boyle telling the story last night that his son had become quite ill in the last week leading up to All-Star, and if it wasn't for his wife Lauren, who urged him to go, he wouldn't have been there, but he's there, he's participating, he's enjoying it, he's embracing it, and good for him. A few suggested he shouldn't be there because he's not an All-Star, and you know what? You're right. He's not an All-Star if you're going strictly by statistics, number of goals, number of assists, etc. But you know what? Brian Boyle can play on my All-Star team any day of the week. I'm okay with that. He's a fantastic choice. He is an all-star in terms of being an inspiration and being a human being. So I'm perfectly content with Brian Boyle being there, even though some suggested he shouldn't be there. He's not an all-star. Shut up. Tampa Bay fans blew up the building for their players, the Tampa Bay Lightning, as they were introduced during the skills competition. That's great. I love how they booed for Sidney Crosby and for Chris Letang. Apparently, the Tampa Bay Lightning fans know that these are the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, and maybe this is a team we might have to deal with going forward. there's a bit of knowledge there, and I think that's good. I love how they were into it. There's a great photo and a great that Brad Marchand was posing for, because a sign had been made and a fan brought it to the game, or to the skills competition rather, on Saturday night, that said "Exterminate the Rat," and Brad Marchand is in a great photo grinning from ear to ear as he stands posed with this homemade sign. That's good. I like it. I see that's kind of the fun spirit in which this whole thing should be approached. Some new wrinkles in the skills competition, some new events. There's some things that worked out, and there's some things that still need a little bit of work, I think. The goalie save streak, not bad. It could maybe stand to do a little massaging and a little bit different, but it was pretty good. It was better than I expected. I really wasn't sure about that one. Marc-Andre Fleury put on a show during that. Nice poke check, the big 2-pad stack. That's good. That's fun. He had the right approach. He had fun with the event. That's Marc-Andre Fleury, though. He's kind of always smiling and grinning and laughing and enjoying himself. The passing relay, well, let's just say that was kind of dull. They tried something different. They still dragged those teeny tiny little nets out and had guys shoot over little barriers to try to put it in. And you know what? That does demonstrate skill. If you can do it. And sometimes you had to wait a while for it, but it's just not that exciting and entertaining. It's just kind of dull. I guess it's better than players simply shooting the puck across the ice over a little barrier that you got to sauce the puck over and try to get it into the net. But to say the least, this is absolutely still a work in progress. But judging by the events as they played out, some of the comments by the players, hearing that a few begged off going and participating in the fastest skater competition because they didn't want to go against Connor McDavid and be embarrassed, that's sort of the key point. Embarrassed is the word. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to look bad. And the NHLPA is so concerned with image. It's all about appearances. That's still not exactly the right. This is an opportunity. It's not an obligation. It's fun. Go have fun. It's not about a highly elite level competition. They haven't realized that it's not an embarrassment to lose in an event. I get it that they're competitive guys and they want to win. They're used to winning. I understand. But that's not what this event is about. It's about fun. It's about having a good time. And the guys that embraced it were having a good time. We'll see what happens with it as it moves forward. There should be more changes. There will be more changes. Hopefully it evolves into what it's supposed to be. Super fun. Very chill, very relaxed. It's not serious elite level competition. I watched a bit of the NFL stuff that's been taking place over the weekend as well. Pro Bowl, and they have kind of a skills thing going on. Some sort of obstacle course, that would be a fun event. Something out on the ice. Again, there will be this overt amount of concern with, well, we don't want the players to look bad and we don't want the players to be embarrassed. That's not what it's about. Go out, have some fun. I'm not saying it degenerates completely to the between period antics at some games, but just something a little unique, a little different. Kind of like some of the obstacle challenges that they have on Survivor. There's physical ability, there's talent, and there's skill involved. A little mental competition, but a little less serious. There were some really nice moments in the All-Star Skills competition last night. Some fun moments, which this is all supposed to be about. It gets forgotten too often. Everybody tries to turn it into a higher level competition. It's not. Alex Ovechkin was out skating around, shooting video during the warm-ups, during the introductions. That's great. If you're not following Ovi on social media, you should be, because you're going to get great stuff. Players had their kids out on the ice. Love that. This is what it's all about. They're hanging out on the bench. They're having a good time. We got little snippets of personality during the actual competition. PK Subban chucking his glove at Henrik Lundqvist. Yeah. He gets it. That's where it's supposed to be. That's the level of seriousness this thing is supposed to operate at. Erik Karlsson and his pal Victor Hedman arriving in full Pirate garb. That was awesome. That was awesome. Erik Karlsson even kind of went rogue during one of the events, picking up the puck and putting it on his stick to maneuver through the obstacle. That's great. Good for him. This is the kind of fun stuff we're looking forward to seeing. Victor Hedman, of course, is unable to participate because of an injury, but apparently he's been given the job as assistant equipment manager. That was great. That's fantastic. Part of that, I guess, was procuring those pirate costumes through Amazon and getting them there in time. That's nice. Winners of the events got a little cash prize this year, $25K. That's nice. Alex Pietrangelo has already said that he's going to donate his to charity. Good for him. Nice gesture. You're not under an obligation to do it, but that's a nice thing to do. Carey Price, there was a great shot of Carey Price who took a fan's jersey, an Islander jersey, took it down to the bench so John Tavares could autograph it for him. I love that kind of stuff. This is the way it's supposed to work. Overall, kind of met the expectations. Few tweaks needed here and there, a few adjustments could happen, couple of new things, couple of different things, some massaging. I'm still thinking the obstacle course, Survivor, I think that's a way to go. I think that's something to look at. It's a work in progress, though. There'll be some new things. There always are. It's always evolving. And I think that's positive. Some of the attitudes have to evolve as well to try to make it a little more fun, family oriented, as opposed to this is a serious competition. It's not a serious competition. Yeah, we want to see the skills. You could just have guys take slap shots for 2 hours and people would enjoy that because it's fun. It's still got to be entertaining too. It's always a work in progress. It'll continue to evolve. I'm interested to see what happens next year. It will be taking place in Northern California. San Jose was announced as the location of the 2019 NHL All-Star Weekend, 26th and 27th of January. Personally, I'm a big fan. I'm okay with that. It's not going to be a super hot temperature. That's not Northern California, but the weather's going to be pretty nice. Going to be a lot easier to coax players to go there than a cold weather climate. Nice vibe, really nice city, beautiful scenery. That's a good location. Hasn't been there for a number of years. I think this is all really good. There's a bunch of other news that came out yesterday in terms of the National Hockey League and what's going to take place next season, overseas games. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Also coming up on the program, our guests are loaded. We got lots to get into. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk is coming up next. Courier Hirsch will join us this hour. Joe Haggerty coming up with the latest on the Bruins. Dave Isaac with more on the Philadelphia Flyers. Steve Laidlaw, his regular Sunday visit with the Fantasy Five, and Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup, also joining us on the program today. Tales of Lord Stanley and what he and the cup have been up to this weekend in Tampa. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. We're live at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. Lots to get into. Sean Leahy will join us. More on the All-Star Weekend when we come back. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD.
Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to join us. Busy program loaded up with guest Stephen Laidlaw coming up in the next hour with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Most pools are operating that last week and this week will be combined as one. Steve will have a little help and assistance for you in terms of your fantasy hockey pool. Phil Pritchard, one of our favorites. He is the keeper of the cup. He's the guy who you see carting the cup around from event to event to event to event. And he has been busy this weekend. I want to ask him about a few of the stops he's made. Dave Isaac with info on the Flyers, Joe Haggerty talking Boston Bruins, Corey Hirsch, Vancouver Canucks analyst, will all join us as well. Pleased to welcome back. It's been a little while since he's visited with us. It was nice to catch up with him in person on Friday. We had a nice discussion about All-Star Weekend and a few other topics. You can check him out on NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk and follow him on Twitter at Sean_Leahy. And he joins us now. Okay, Sean, before we dive into some of the things that we talked about on Friday, let me know what your overall review was for the skills competition last night in Tampa Bay.
I thought it was fun. I mean, it's always a highlight of the weekend, the game, the tournament, what it is now. It's always, second fiddle. The skills is always, brings a lot more than memories for the weekend. But yeah, I mean, like you said, there's some things work, some things probably could use a little tweaking or changing. But it was fun to see the guys go through that obstacle course. And like you said, Tyler Seguin and Carlson getting frustrated and just picking it up and trying to get it through those little holes. And Connor McDavid obviously blazing by everyone, the fastest skater. And Ovi on his last shot, being the only guy to break 100 in the hardest shot. So it was definitely enjoyable. Would love to see them bring back the trick shot competition that they did in years past to get a little more creativity. You did see some guys like, I think, Klingberg and TK did that between the legs shot during the save the streak competition. But overall, I think it was fun, and I think the fans in the arena had a great time as well.
Yeah, for the most part, pretty good. There's always a little massaging and always a little improvement that you could make. That passing thing into the little nets is still the one that that's a real buzzkill for me. But again, it's always going to be a work in progress. Now, some of the things that you and I talked about, I think are valid, and I'm with you in terms of the breakaway challenge. I want to see guys with more personality and any opportunity to do that. But one of the things you mentioned, and I kind of like, was maybe bringing more players to All-Star Weekend might help the exercise too.
Yeah, I wrote about this on Saturday, and I think you don't do this for every event, but there's no reason while they're healthy and not retired, we should not be able to see Zdeno Chara and Shea Weber in the hardest shot competition every single year, whether or not they're deserving of an All-Star bid. Same thing, every year we should see McDavid, Andreas Athanasiou, Dylan Larkin, Grabner, Eric Haller, Carl Hagelin, the fastest skater, to really just show us, the true best of these competitions. And you're not adding a ton of extra players on the roster, and they're only going to be there just for the skills competition. I think it would hype up the event even more. I mean, imagine being able to see Char and Weber in the last event of the night going, blasting 105-mile-an-hour shots, trying to best one another. So I think it'll work. The players will get a nice free weekend wherever the All-Star weekend is. But I can understand some of the players you maybe saying no because they don't want to send their guys there just for a couple hours and have them get out of there and not participate in the game. So, but I think, bringing the best of the best in certain categories, I think would go a long way to making the event even more popular.
I think anything that you can do to engage your fans, help grow the game and grow the popularity and thus grow hockey-related revenue is a positive, and it's something that the players and the Players Association should continue to look at. Now, another thing that they did for a couple of years but got away from, because apparently there were some that didn't think it was putting the players in a flattering light, is the fantasy draft to choose the teams for All-Star. I like the idea myself, and I'd be happy to have it come back.
I agree. It was fun. It was a great thing to do on that Friday night before the skills competition. Get the players together in a room. You sauce them up a little bit with an open bar. Granted, there could be some dangerous hot mic moments, but it's live television, and you hope for the best there. But it was fun to see the players interact with one another. I was watching some clips of the first one a couple of days ago, and I remember Mark Stahl being interviewed and saying he really helped his brother Eric, who was the captain of the Carolina game, picked him for his team. And then 3 seconds later, Eric goes up to the mic and picks, I think it was Henrik Lundqvist right away, Mark Stahl's teammate. And it was just a great moment to have. And those are the kind of things that you can do when you get the players in a situation like that, where they could kind of show their personalities, which, that's a thing that we're always talking about with NHL players and hockey players in general, is just getting them to show more personality. And the skills competition, really just All-Star Weekend in general, is one way to get that out of some of these guys. And we've seen some of that this weekend, and hopefully we'll see some fun things later today.
And I guess I can appreciate the part of it that some players feel that they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to look bad. Nobody does. I don't want that. You don't want that. Nobody does. But I don't think we have to be able to give them the message and sell them that if you lose an event or you don't get chosen in the first or second or third round of a fantasy draft, it's not something that makes you look bad. I mean, this is just the way it plays out. Have fun with it. It's not meant to be an elite level athletic competition. It's a fun weekend.
Yeah, it's all about fun. There's a fun kind of embarrassing, which is, maybe barely hitting 90 in the hardest shot competition, and then there's the embarrassing where it's scoring a goal into your own net or throwing the puck across ice and it's picked off and scored the other way. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing. But the fun kind of embarrassing, no one's thinking less of these guys as a player if, they hit 94 on the radar gun or they fumble going around those big giant Gatorade bottles in a puck control relay. It's everyone knows it's fun. They're all stars. They're there for a reason. No one's going to think less of them. And hopefully, minds start to change in that direction where they kind of be a little more accepting of, if I mess up, I mess up. It's no big deal. I'm just here to have some fun.
Sean Leahy is our guest. You can check him out at NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. At Sean_Leahy is how you follow him on Twitter. Now, players are in Tampa because it is NHL All-Star Weekend, and they are not going to the Olympics in Pyeongchang. What happens in the future? Personally, I think it gets sorted out in time for China, but that's a debate for another day. But that you and I think, are in agreement that NHLers need to be at the Olympics going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the owners' reasons why, but I think for the good of the game, to put the NHL product and their players and their stars on that kind of stage of the Olympics, where it's worldwide, you're getting, not just diehard hockey fans like us and everyone listening, watching. You're getting a casual fan, someone who just tunes into the Olympics because they like the Olympics, right? I mean, how many of us watch the Luge, between Olympics? We watch pretty much once every 4 years, certain events that we'd like to see. And for some people, that could be the hockey tournament, which is always very entertaining. And, the gold medal game, I believe, is always like the last event on that Sunday to close out the game. So, you know, like I talked to Blake Wheeler on yesterday. He said, you know, it's a missed opportunity. He brought up, you know, how many casual sports fans tune into the Olympics that could get hooked into hockey, and that could kind of bring them over to watch the NHL game after the Olympics are over. But yeah, I think you're right in the fact that I think they're going to get things sorted out for 2022 in Beijing, only because the NHL is really trying to break into the Chinese market. You know, they had the preseason games this past September. They're about to finalize some games there between the Bruins and the Flames for next season. They're doing other grassroots initiative programs there over the next several years. They brought in a big sponsor, a Chinese business. So everything's pointing towards that happening. And you know, I asked a couple of the players yesterday as well, do they see this being part of the CBA talks? Should, you know, whether they reopen it before 2022 games or after it, and they pretty much said, yeah, it's probably going to be a talking point whenever that happens.
Oh yeah, there's no question that's how it's going to get. That's how it's going to get sorted out, and it only seems to make sense that there are other continents to conquer. I mean, the league is going back to Europe for regular season and preseason games this year, along with China. So it only makes sense that they resume playing as part of the Olympics to help grow that international audience and thus grow the business. It just makes sense to me that this is the way to go. I got to ask you another thing though, because this is the one that I'm really curious about. That we talked about on Friday, and with all of the video review and all of the challenges, and the one that got a lot of attention in the last week or so was goaltender interference, but the offside challenge is another one that's getting attention. So you've got a dramatic solution, and I think we need to experiment with it, but it could be really interesting. And your solution involves no more offside.
Yeah, let me give credit to, I believe it was Dmitry Filipovic of Sportsnet, who was the first person I've seen trumpeting this idea. So I just kind of borrowed it from him, but I'm on the bandwagon. Get rid of offside altogether, right? I mean, the reviews are obviously, we know the issues with the video review for offsides and goal interference, but you know, with the offsides, we've seen, right? A guy, his skate blade is a millimeter off the ice. He's offside. Granted, led by the rule, it's offside. Or the guy enters the zone, 35 seconds later, a goal is scored, a review, and the goal is called back, even though the offside really had nothing to do, you know, with the play itself. So just get rid of offside altogether. Open it up. The league wants more scoring. You're going to get more scoring. You're not going to worry about offside. And it's also strategy for teams. If you're losing by a goal or two, if you want to get up, early, do you leave a guy kind of cherry picking in the neutral zone, and go 5-on-4 in your D zone? You take that chance. So there's a lot of strategy involved there as far as whether you're trailing or you're tied or you just need a goal. And I think it's just going to increase scoring altogether. At least if it doesn't increase scoring, it's going to at least increase scoring chances and the flow of the game. So we're not bogged down with a guy skating through a neutral zone and he has to pull up because one of his guys has to, he has to make sure the other forward or the other two forwards are onside and they're, hugging the line. So I think they're just bring a better flow to the game and a more entertaining product.
I think it's certainly worth looking at. And hey, just quickly, that was another one of the ideas that you had, was bringing back the R&D camp.
Yes, they did that for those two summers a couple years ago when Brandon Shanahan was still with the NHL, and ideas like that, no offside, whatever other funky ideas you want to have, those are the place to test it. At least you can say what it is, but for the GMs and the owners and the head coaches, at least it's a good way for them to visualize what it would look like and would it work on the NHL level. And I think that R&D camp was successful. I would do it every other summer or so, just get 10 ideas, 15 ideas, and have those junior players who took part in it work it out, and so we can get a better idea of all these crazy ideas that we all have. What exactly would they look like with actual players involved?
Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk, at Sean_Leahy to follow him on Twitter. Good stuff. Enjoyed the conversation. We're not going to Vegas next year, but San Jose is a pretty good second choice. Thanks for doing this, Sean. We'll talk again soon, man.
You got it, Todd. Great to see you. Take care.
Thanks. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. But I love the thinking of, okay, let's try this idea, and having a regular R&D camp with
recently retired players, even current NHL players before they hit training camp, junior players, alum. They think this is a great way to do it, create some new news and development for the league. Just run it kind of like you do the NHL Combine every year. Maybe it becomes an extension of that, just to try new ideas. That, of course, is very difficult at times with hockey and the NHL culture, but we'll keep pushing it in that direction. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Busy hour coming up. Joe Haggerty will join us before the top of the hour with the latest on the Bruins. In the next segment, Courier Hirsch, Vancouver Canucks radio analyst, mental health advocate, which we'll talk a little bit about, and much more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. You can download it now at the App Store. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Oh, don't forget, you can sign up and subscribe to our podcast as well through iTunes, through iHeartRadio. They're available through the Hockey Unfiltered app. And that also includes our Little Saturday podcast. It's a little bit of weekend in the middle of the week. They drop Wednesday afternoon. Just our way of kind of keeping the hockey conversation going all week long. And we do it every Wednesday. It's the Little Saturday podcast. They drop on Wednesday afternoon. It is a busy weekend in the National Hockey League with NHL All-Star Weekend taking place in Tampa Bay. Skills competition on Saturday night. Overall, pretty good. Couple of things could always use a little bit of massaging. Fans seem to enjoy it. Fans completely embracing and welcoming the National Hockey League into Tampa Bay yesterday and merging the All-Star Weekend with the Gasparilla Pirate Festival. Sensational. Lots of great atmosphere, lots of fun. A couple of adult beverages involved in the whole thing too, but it was all in good fun. Before the top of the hour, Joe Haggerty will join us with the latest on the Boston Bruins. Happy to welcome back to the program our friend, the Vancouver Canucks radio analyst. You can follow him on Twitter at Courier Hirsch, and he joins us on the line now. Corey, good to talk to you again. And are you taking the weekend off and recharging for the final third of the season? Is that the plan?
I am. You know what? I've come down to Phoenix, so I've had some sun. I've had a golf game. It's all good. And then we're going to go into the home stretch here pretty quick.
Nice. Very good. Hey, just
because everybody's been talking about it for the last week and a half or so, is there one or two things or little things that we could do to help the goaltender interference that's gone on and the so-called controversy and difficulty with people understanding it from the goaltender's perspective that you have?
Yeah, I think anytime, I think it's got to be on the forward. He's got to make every attempt to get out of the crease. I think you can go in for a puck, but I think once you clip a goalie or out of the, then it's kind of more cut and dry. You have to make sure that the forward player that's in the crease is making every attempt to get out. He's not, leaning on the goalie, or he's not laying down in the crease, or he's not clipping a guy or something. And then it's more cut and dry. I think would probably be better. That you can't touch the goalie. I mean, bottom line, when the goalie goes to make the save, you can't touch the goalie. If you're going in after the puck, well, then that's a different story. So yes, you can go if you hit the puck and hit the goalie at the same time. Well, the puck's there. It's fair game. But anytime the goalie goes to make a save, you can't touch him. It has to be more cut and dry. It can't be, like you're playing road hockey and each time the rule changes.
car.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. And then the one kid gets mad and takes his net home. Right. So.
Yeah, we all experienced that once or twice. Getting a lot of attention in the skills competition last night in Tampa Bay was Vancouver Canucks rookie sensation Brock Besser zipping off the pucks and knocking those targets. And in fact, I love it that he actually broke one of the targets with his shot last night. I hope he starts to get a lot of attention in other cities outside of Vancouver. He's getting a little bit of Rookie of the Year talk, but what a talent he is.
Yeah, he's been the Canucks' best player by far. If they didn't have him this year, I'm not sure where they would be. I mean, he's got 24 goals as a rookie. Should be able to hit at least 30 by the end of the year. But, it's the Canucks needed that star again. They really needed that player that, people would come out to see. The cities are aging, so it's not them anymore. It's not their team anymore. They have to turn it over to Bo Horvat and Brock Besser. And I'm glad that he got a chance to show his stuff at the All-Star game because we get to see it every night, and it's pretty awesome.
Now, the Vancouver Canucks are also getting a little bit healthier in that Bo Horvat is getting back into the lineup, so that should help the Canucks moving down through the final third of the season as well.
Yeah, no question. It really should, and it's still going to be really difficult for them to make the playoffs. That's going to be tough. They have to win, I think, 25 of their last 35 if you look at the numbers. But it's more about growing as a team for these guys and getting more minutes for the younger players and getting them ice time and getting them out there and playing. So it's tough to. You want to win, but everybody wants a shot at the Rasmus Dahlin kid too. So it goes both ways, right? It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's the interesting and kind of tricky part for everyone. But the Canucks, I think, have taken steps in the right direction this year. If you go back to the start of the season and what we've seen the team accomplish this year under new head coach Travis Green, there has been some growth, and you can see the team moving in the right direction. The other story that came out, I don't know, it was a week or a couple of weeks ago, is that the Sedins are apparently interested in returning for another season in Vancouver. And if it's me and I'm the general manager, I'm all on board with that. It's got to be the right number, dollars and cents wise, but I think that they can absolutely help this team move in the right direction coming back for another year.
Yeah, and it all depends on the dollars and cents, right? I mean, you can't pay them what they made this year. Sorry, I think that was my phone, but they're both going to almost hit 50 points. So. You almost have to bring them back because the team still needs them. If their prospects were further along, then it wouldn't be even a question. You could plug the prospects in, but you still have to ice a team next year, and these guys are still getting 50 points. So, the dollar amount is exactly what it's going to be. Somewhere around 3.5. I would do it for sure.
Corey Hirsch is our guest, Vancouver Canucks radio analyst. At Corey Hirsch is how you follow him on Twitter. Canucks get back in action on Tuesday as the Colorado Avalanche come to town. And I guess that's probably served as a bit of inspiration for the Vancouver Canucks, seeing how far Colorado has come this season in that turnaround doesn't have to take 5, 6, 7 years anymore. You can take big steps in a relatively shorter period of time.
Yeah, you really can, but the turnover's quick too. So you don't, as far as teams go, now you have to do the turnover at age 28, 29, 30, whereas before you could do it at age 34, 35, 36. So, it's getting smaller. The window's getting smaller for players. So, your rebuild is a lot quicker because younger players are coming in. They're faster. They're ready to go. They're ready to play. But like I said, then you don't have those players for as long because they start to age, and then you got to bring in the new guys. So it is getting quick, and I give Jared Bednar a lot of credit in Colorado. He's been amazing.
Yeah, he's run a really nice job with the Colorado Avalanche. Corey, before I let you go, I want to ask you and talk a little bit about some of the other work that you do off the ice and away from the ice. It does kind of incorporate hockey occasionally too, but your work with the Canadian Association of Mental Health. The story of yours that came out in the Players Tribune, it was I believe it was pushed forward again through social media recently at this time of year. But I just think it's fantastic what you're doing. There's the hashtag with Hockey Talks right now, and you're just trying to create more awareness and help people that need it.
Yeah, and it's been really, the second story that just came out was kind of like the aftermath. Okay, a year later, what's happened? Because we're also terrified to come forward and to tell everything and to talk to people and to get help. And, so the article was more about how, I thought doors would close. I thought, okay, I'm going to send this out there, but majority of my doors will close. I'm going to help some people, but, I'll never get hired in hockey again. Well, it's just been the opposite. I've had more opportunities presented to me. I've had more people come up to me. We're seeing a huge shift in more and more players coming forward. So it's pretty cool to see. And then the hope is with the program, it's called Lose the Mask, and it's going to be implemented in working with CAMH, and it's going to be implemented in high schools across Canada. So it's important to get our kids the knowledge in their hands, so they know, when they get depressed, they know what it feels like right immediately. They can say something and get help. They'll wallow in it for years or months or whatever. They know what it is. They're knowledgeable and they know to get help, and that's what's important.
Is it important for kids to recognize signs, but is it just as important for others, whether it's adults, teachers, parents, friends, to recognize signs as well and try to help people that they think are struggling?
Yeah, no question. It is very important. It's more important for them to be an open ear, because people with mental health issues typically aren't going to just open up to anybody. So they have to make themselves available and accepting. And it's important to look for the signs and symptoms and all that stuff. Mental health can disguise itself. The OCD disguises itself very well. Sometimes you'll walk around for 2-3 years not knowing what's going on, and not really understanding that it's OCD. So that's the stuff that we need to get in our kids' hands, is that so that it immediately happens. They can recognize it themselves, and then you're right. And then it's somebody else noticing, maybe talking, accepting, and just being an ear to listen to. And that's what's important with mental health.
Making them feel safe.
Absolutely. Make them feel safe, people feel like they're not going to be shunned, that there is help available, that, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay that nobody's going to judge you because you have a mental health issue.
Corey Hirsch doing great work, and also doing great work on the radio broadcast for the Vancouver Canucks as their analyst. At Corey Hirsch is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff, Corey. I always enjoy the visits, and anything we can do to help with this program, you just ask and we're there. Appreciate the time as always. We'll do it again soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for letting me talk about it. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Corey Hirsch, Vancouver Canucks radio analyst. Lose the Mask, that's the program. And the hashtag Hockey Talks. That Corey's a terrific story and a terrific guy too. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Before the top of the hour, Joe Haggerty will visit with us. We'll talk Boston Bruins. And in the next hour, busy as well. Latest on the Philadelphia Flyers from Dave Isaac. Steve Laidlaw, of course, is here with his Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. And Phil Pritchard, keeper of the Stanley Cup, who will interrupt his tour around Tampa Bay for a visit with us to tell us tales of what he's been up to this weekend and some of the other great stories involved in the Stanley Cup as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, powered by Primetime Radio, live at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, live on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube Live, and you can check out our podcasts as well. Visit our website, check out our Facebook page, social media handles at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports on Twitter and on Instagram. It's a busy NHL All-Star weekend, super busy in the next hour with Dave Isaac joining us to get the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Phil Pritchard talking of his tour around Tampa Bay with the Stanley Cup. Steve Laidlaw, of course, here as well with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool because action gets going right again on Tuesday. It is a busy night. Then we're right back into it. We're about 2/3 of the way through the season. We're 4 weeks away from the NHL trade deadline. There is going to be an awful lot of activity for the next little while, and plenty of things going on. The skills competition overall, pretty good success last night. Things went pretty well in the building. Overall, a pretty good night. There's still, as always, a few little tweaks, still a few little adjustments that you can make. Some of the skills competition, it was pretty good. The goaltender save, the sequence, I kind of like that. It was all right. It could move along a little quicker. It could be a little better. Some of the passing things, I understand that, it shows great skill if you can flip a puck and sauce it over a barrier and land it into this teeny tiny 12-centimeter net. Doesn't make for good TV. Doesn't make it that exciting in the building. You could feel and see and hear that kind of the enthusiasm went down at times through the skills competition. And I understand that it's a whole work in progress. You have to always adjust and try to freshen the events up. I like that the changes they made with the target shooting, the accuracy shooting, changing that a light comes on and that's the target you have to hit. You can't pick and choose. I think that makes for some good moments. I think it makes it a bigger challenge for the players, which makes it more interesting for them. I like that. I think that's good. I think that's a good change. A nice little update too from the styrofoam. I mean, that's kind of low tech versus a higher tech where you actually have a flashing light now, and that's the target that you have to hit. I mean, we were kind of going in the Wayback Machine with the styrofoam targets. That was the original. Wasn't that the original Showdown in the 1970s or something that they did that? These styrofoam targets. Then they started marketing it. You could buy targets. They were foam rubber though, and you knocked them out. Yeah, that's kind of old school tech. I think the update was nice. I also thought it was awesome that Brock Besser smashed the plexiglass in the front of one of the targets. So even, 20, 25 feet away, just snapping a little wrist shot, trying to hit a target, that gives you a sense of how hard these guys can shoot the puck too. That's one of the most difficult things to translate in terms of television is the speed of the shot and the speed of the players. When you say, oh yeah, look at that. Player went around the ice in 13 and a half seconds or 14 seconds. That's pretty good. But when you see it in person, it's even more exciting. I mean, you really get the sense of speed and how quick those players are humming around the ice. And that's the difficult thing that to translate on television, not just for hockey, but for any sport, is the speed of the game or the competition, whatever it is. That's the most difficult part. We're trying to connect with Joe Haggerty, having a little bit of difficulty reaching him, but hopefully we will and squeeze him in before the top of the hour. But overall, the skills competition I thought was pretty good last night. It'll undergo, no doubt, a few more changes, a few more adjustments, a little massaging here and there. That'll take place before the skills competition is once again part of NHL All-Star Weekend in 2019, which will take place in San Jose. The Sharks will host once again. Yeah, another good choice of location. Good that they announce it a year early so that way people can plan and think, yeah, that might be a good spot to go end of January. Nice little long weekend if you're able to travel. On television, listening on the radio, if you do that as well with some of the skills and the All-Star 3-on-3 competition that'll take place on Sunday afternoon, that's good, and it's a way to enjoy it. But like the Winter Classic, Stadium Series events, outdoor games, the NHL Draft, if you can be there in person, that creates maximum enjoyment. Stadium Series, Winter Classic games, the outdoor games, those are much more local events. And the draft and the All-Star game are a little bit too. I mean, it's nice to watch and see all 40 whatever All-Stars that are out on the ice participating in the 3-on-3 on Sunday or that took place in the skills competition. But to get there in person and really experience all that's going on, because there is so much more going on within the city that is hosting the event, whether it's a draft, whether it's an outdoor game, whether it's the All-Star weekend. There's a whole bunch to see and do. Part of it, even just the lineup that takes place every time the Stanley Cup appears, because you can have your picture taken with it. No, they don't charge you. You can just stand in line. When you get to the front, they take a picture of you in the Stanley Cup. It's a small thing, but man, it's pretty good. That kind of stuff, that goes a long way to enjoying the weekend. And anything that you can do to bring it closer to the fans is positive. Skills competition's good. There were some nice moments, really warm, tender moments. Brian Boyle and the reception he received on Saturday night in Tampa Bay by the crowd. He played with the Lightning, so there's a closeness there that they developed in the short time that he spent there. But his story has been so sensational this year. Battling back from being diagnosed with leukemia, and then to reveal the other touching story, as he did last night, that his son had been ill this past week, and it was his wife, Lauren, once he had moved past the critical stage to say, yeah, go ahead, enjoy it, you deserve it. And yeah, that's just another illustration that he does deserve it, unlike some who suggested that Brian Boyle shouldn't have been named to the NHL All-Star team. He's not really an All-Star. Maybe not in terms of the stats, the number of goals he scores, the number of assists. But he's absolutely an all-star in terms of what he's accomplished and what he's achieved this year alone. He can play on the team. I think it's great. It's great. Alex Ovechkin skating out on the ice with his son, shooting video on his iPhone. That's the whole atmosphere, and that's the whole vibe that you're trying to get throughout that entire skills competition. It's fun. It's good. Sometimes it's projected. And I think part of the difficulty is what people watch and what they see on television. They're trying to project this as a serious and intense competition. The guys are having fun. And that's what it is. It should be promoted as completely lighthearted. In terms of the events and adjusting, maybe that's part of it too. Sure, you want to demonstrate the great skill that players have. I don't think we need to sell that. I think we need to sell and promote the personality more than, hey, these guys are great athletes with tremendous skill and hand-eye coordination and talent. You don't have to sell me on that. What I want to see is the personality of my favorite player or players or all-stars throughout the league. I want to see more of them. I want to see more of them having fun. We got about 5 seconds or 7 seconds of Erik Karlsson and Victor Hedman arriving at the arena last night dressed in a pirate costume. Give me more of that. We got a couple of seconds of Alex Ovechkin shooting video. Give me more of that. PK Subban, who is doing all he can to bring personality and enjoyment and enthusiasm to the National Hockey League and players, tossing his glove as he's going in on a breakaway shot on Henrik Lundqvist. I'm all for that. I want to see more of that kind of personality, players being themselves. Some are better at it and more comfortable with it than others. I can understand that. But let's create the environment that makes it easy for players to do that. Yeah, you're right. You're not going to win every contest, whether it's skating around the ice in the fastest manner, or whether you're shooting targets, or whether you have the fastest or passing relay, or whether you have the hardest shot. You're not going to win all the competitions, but that doesn't matter. It's not about winning all of them. Sure, you'd like to, but it's not necessarily going to happen. Go, have fun, show your personality, sign a whack autographs, have a good time with fans and family. I want to see more of that. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd@hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a hold of Joe Haggerty. We apologize. We'll try and get him back at some point in the future to talk a little Boston Bruins, but a busy hour number 2 coming up. Dave Isaac is going to join us. We'll talk about the Philadelphia Flyers, who find themselves in a postseason position. Who thought that during the big losing skid? Phil Pritchard, keeper of the Stanley Cup, will join us in hour number 2, and Steve Laidlaw as well with this week's Fantasy 5, Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool when action does resume in the NHL. That goes on Tuesday night, and it is a busy Tuesday resumption. We'll look ahead to some of the good games coming up on the schedule this week as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, hour number 2 after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number 2. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition. Busy hour coming up, and it just got even busier. Steve Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5 coming up later on in the hour, his regular Sunday visit. Bill Pritchard, keeper of the Stanley Cup, will also be with us this hour. Dave Isaac from the Courier Post, latest from the Philadelphia Flyers, and in moments, Joe Haggerty. We did connect, so we'll squeeze it in this hour as well. Sure, why not? There's room for everyone. Let's get in all these good hockey topics as we can. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis every Saturday and Sunday at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. Oh, yes, it's a busy one. NHL All-Star Weekend, ready to go with the 3-on-3 tournament this afternoon. Oh yeah, it's a busy and good weekend. Good weekend for the NHL. Good weekend for the fans. Fun and enjoyment. Participating, Brad Marchand, even though he's kicked out for a few more games of the National Hockey League. Joe Haggerty covers the Bruins for NBC Sports Boston. You can follow him on Twitter at Hacks with Hags. Joe, glad we were able to connect. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that the Bruins have the break right now. 14-0-4 heading into it. Is it good or bad that they got a few days off?
Well, I think it's going to be good for them. I mean, they had a 5-day bye, and really that didn't slow them down. You know, they've had a few breaks like that in a very advantageous first half of the schedule here. You know, and none of those have really dulled the dominance and the hot streak, which tells you that, you know, they are what they are. It's not necessarily a streak of any kind. They're just a really good team. You know, the one thing that is going to slow them down, that is going to be tough for them, is as the heaviness of the second half of the schedule. They play 16 games in the month of March, and they have a lot they've got to deal with. So I think if anything, that is going to be what eventually gets them. It's not going to be, you know, slowing down for a couple of days and maybe going away for the weekend and then coming back and business as usual. You know, for a young team, they've shown an ability to bounce back and deal with that kind of stuff really well, which has been impressive and speaks for the veteran leadership in that dressing room.
Has the performance of the young players on this team surprised you this season? Because it's been throughout the lineup as well. It's been on defense. It's been at the forward position as well, that they've had great production and great performance by young players.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's surprised me, and some of it hasn't. You know, Charlie McAvoy, I think you expected after you watched him in the playoffs last year to be a difference maker and to be a bit of a game changer for them based on what he can do. And, you know, I think that's what we've seen is more of that. And I think that was the expectation there. The real unknown, in my mind, was up front. You know, they didn't do much in the offseason to really improve their NHL roster with free agency or trades. And they were basically saying to themselves and betting on a couple of young wingers coming forward, popping in training camp and really holding down some pretty important roles. And, you know, they had a handful of guys they had in mind, and it was kind of, you know, up to them to sort it out and figure out which two were going to really step up and take those jobs. And then what we saw was that Jake DeBrusk has done it on the left side with David Krejci on that second line and been a very strong player, a guy that in big moments has really stepped up. That's been pretty good, all things considered. Even has room to get better, but I think has been impressive and has a mature game at a really young age. And then on the other side, or actually he's on the left side too, Danton Heinen on the third line, has stepped up into one of the best rookies in the NHL. And, he's not getting the publicity that guys like Matthew Barzal and Brock Besser and, even his last name escapes right now in Arizona, even with Keller, what those guys are getting, and those, the hype that they're getting, he's not getting. But Dan Heinen's been every bit as good as them offensively, and I think he's more of a 200-foot player than really those guys are. And you put him on the third line with David Backes, and he brings a little bit of that Bergeron competitiveness to the table for every single battle, and playing at both ends of the ice. And, you add DeBrusk and Heinen to what they have, and that's exactly what they needed, and it's part of what's made them so good in the first half of the season. Now, all that being said, I think the rookies might be most affected by this heaviness of the schedule in the second half, all these games played. It might be where some of those guys hit the wall a little bit, and I think that's what we're going to have to see with the Bruins.
That's going to be worth watching. You mentioned Charlie McAvoy, and he's out of the lineup because of a procedure that needed to be performed. Do we have any idea of a timeline as to when he might be back with the Bruins?
No, not at this point. They said 2 weeks, so I think it could be at most 2 weeks, or it could be even sooner than that. If he comes back and feels really good and starts to practice after this All-Star break, some point next week, maybe he decides to come back a day or two sooner. I've talked to a number of people that have had the procedure, and from everybody I've talked to and inside and out of hockey that have had it done, they had it done when they were about McAvoy's age. They had it corrected with the surgery, and they never had any issues afterwards. And I think that's really something you can put a lot of optimism in. And the other thing is, it's not like it's anything to do with the heart that takes the 2 weeks to go out and return to the ice. So the reason that you need the 2 weeks to heal up is because they have to go through the groin to do the surgery, and the actual wound for the surgery needs to heal in order for you to get on the ice and be back up again. From all accounts of people I've talked to, they felt physically good like the next day afterwards, within a day or two, and that's not what is really holding you back. It's more just the surgery entry point healing. So, by all accounts, by everybody you talk to, this should be something they caught early. Scary as it is when it's heart related, it should be something that doesn't give him any trouble moving forward. And, given some of the things we've seen in the NHL with Rich Everly and others when it comes to the heart, I think that's extremely good news. And, for McAvoy, he's got such a bright future at 20 years old. You would never want to see for anybody, but, even more so for a bright young talent, something to happen to them where they couldn't function or perform because of some issue like this.
Hear, hear. Joe Haggerty covering the Boston Bruins for NBC Sports in Boston. At Hacks with Hags is how you follow him on Twitter. Bruins get back in action with a contest against Anaheim when they resume their schedule. They will do it without Brad Marchand, who will continue to serve his suspension. This is just Brad Marchand being himself. I think there was an opportunity. He kind of caught the elbow. He's going to pay the price for it. But this is just kind of what you get with Brad Marchand. This is the price of doing business. If you're the Boston Bruins, having him in your lineup, occasionally he's going to get suspended because he goes over the line. I don't think that behavior ever changes.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Because in these instances, he just seems to snap. He's a smart kid. He's a veteran player. He knows that he's not supposed to do these things. He knows that it's going to cost him and it's going to cost the team. And, we hear kind of the same thing after every single one that, I need to be better. I let down my teammates. I let down my organization, sort of blah, blah, blah. It sounds like it comes from an authentic place when he says it, but it's been the same thing after every single time. So either, he doesn't really mean it, or there's just something in him that snaps that he can't control. And these instances happen at least once a year. And I think that's more what it is. The coach can talk to him. His teammates can talk to him. He can talk to himself. He can go to a sports psychologist. I don't think any of that stuff matters. There's something in his wiring that every once in a while just short circuits and he does something he's not supposed to, and he gets suspended for it. And the real thing that they've got to watch and that he's got to watch is, when he does these things, last year he got suspended at the end of the season. He got thrown out of a game towards the beginning of the game against Tampa Bay that they had to win. And, they ended up winning that game and they ended up getting into the playoffs, but that could have cost them the playoffs if things had gone in a different direction for the Bruins at the end of last year. And if he got suspended and then it cost his team getting into the postseason, that would be a really bad situation. And I think that's something you always kind of flirt with these instances. When is the time going to come when it's really, really going to hurt the team? And the other thing is, he's been suspended 6 times now. The next one's going to be 7, 8, 9, 10 games. It's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more painful for him and for the team. And I think this was the NHL kind of telling him, look, Brad, it's time to cut the crap and stop doing this. The next time we come down, it's really going to be with the heavy hammer, and you're going to get hit like, the Rafi Torreses and the Matt Cooks of the world. And he shouldn't want that to happen. The Bruins shouldn't want that to happen. That should be plenty of motivation to keep his nose clean, but we'll see if that happens.
One more quick one, Joe, if we can. A few weeks ago, you were on. Boston was 10 points behind the Tampa Bay Lightning. I asked if there was a chance that they could catch him. Now they're only 5 points back. They've got 2 games in hand. I think I know your answer. Is there a chance Boston can catch the Lightning?
I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. I still don't think so based on how much the schedule is going to hinder the Bruins in the second half of the season. It's been a really good thing for them that they've piled up as many points as they have. They've got a ridiculous 20-point cushion on other teams in the Atlantic Division, the rest of the pack there, where, their playoff spot is assured. They have nothing to worry about. That part of it is really good for them. And it does look like they're kind of pulling away from the Maple Leafs a little bit as well to have home ice in the first round of the playoffs if it does come down to that. But I think all these games that they've got to play in February and March at the beginning of April, they've got to go on some long road trips. They've got, like I said, 16 games in March. I think this is going to be a really difficult portion of the schedule for them. I think young guys are going to plateau. Charlie McAvoy could hit some kind of a rookie wall based on the fact that he only played 40-something games last year at his levels of hockey. Some of the other young guys might have a difficult time. Certainly they're going to get injuries when they play that many games in that short amount of time. I just don't think they're going to play at the clip that they are now in the second half of the schedule. And if they can't do that, I'm not sure they're going to be able to catch the Lightning. But the one good thing about all this is that the fact that they're so close, it gives them a carrot. It does give them something to play for and continue to play hard in the second half. It's not like, they're going to just rest on their laurels, know they're getting into the postseason and kind of put it in cruise control. I think they're going to be close enough for it to be interesting. I'm just not sure they're going to be able to overtake a team like that.
Follow him on Twitter at HacksWithHags. Joe Haggerty covering the Boston Bruins for NBC Sports in Boston. Great to talk again, Joe. Glad we were able to connect, and we'll do it again soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Todd. Take care, buddy.
Appreciate it. Joe Haggerty covering the Boston Bruins. It's just going to be fun to watch. 5 points now, 2 games in hand. It could happen. Of course, Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy out of the lineup. The Lightning have Victor Hedman out of the lineup. It's going to be interesting to watch. A lot of ground to cover in our remaining minutes this hour. We'll take you right up to the top of the hour with Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. He'll be with us. Phil Pritchard, keeper of the Stanley Cup, the guy with the white gloves. David Isaac will join us shortly from the Courier Post. A little bit of news to pass along as well. Bob McKenzie from TSN tweeting out what we had all suspected was going to happen over the last week or two. This is just kind of the Sunday to slip it through as everyone is sort of focused on NHL All-Star Weekend. Jaromir Jagr on unconditional waivers from the Calgary Flames to pave the way for contract termination. It will allow him to pursue career options in Europe, but Jaromir Jagr's time in the National Hockey League is coming to an end. I don't take great joy in making that announcement, but I am not the least bit surprised. I thought it was a mistake when the Calgary Flames signed Jaromir Jagr. No, it's not a lot of money, but it is a roster spot. And it indicated that they weren't where they needed or wanted to be in terms of their talent. He had trouble staying physically able to play, didn't have any training camp, was begging for a contract over the summer. Hysterical media members were feigning outrage that it's a tragedy that Jaromir Jagr can't get a contract to play in the National Hockey League. And I suspect there were some influences that made the Calgary Flames decide, all right, we'll bring him in. It was a mistake. It didn't work out. He'll move on and hopefully get to pursue a career if he wants to in Europe. So maybe he can help some club there. Maybe he plays at the Olympics. I don't know that that's a real option, but maybe
But yeah, Jaromir Jagr's time in the National Hockey League has come. It's unfortunate, but it happens to every player. Age catches up with you. Age is undefeated, if you want to use the cliche. And that's the way it's going to be for Jaromir Jagr this time. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Dave Isaac will join us in the next segment. We'll talk Philadelphia Flyers. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. A little more on the story that's just coming out now is that Jaromir Jagr has been placed on waivers. A little more from Bob McKenzie from TSN. The process goes through waivers, then has to be on unconditional waivers to try to terminate the contract. He'd like to work out an option that he can resume his NHL career in Europe. I'm not surprised at this. This was what was going to happen. But apparently now he is healthy enough to play. It's just the Flames don't want him to play for them, and I don't suspect anyone else does either, and Jaromir Jagr will resume his career somewhere else. The NHL resumes back in action on Tuesday. The Philadelphia Flyers get back in action, and oh, look now, those Philadelphia Flyers have climbed into a wild card playoff spot, winning 8 of their last 10 games. Dave Isaac covers the Flyers for the Courier Post. Follow him on Twitter at Dave G. Isaac, and he joins us now. Dave, did you see this coming when the Flyers were going through that horrific losing streak early on in the season, and everyone was calling for Dave Haxtell to be fired? This is quite the turnaround by Philly.
Yeah, Todd, I think a lot of people were making early tea times, myself included. So I don't think many people saw this turnaround coming. But at the same time, during that losing streak, they weren't playing poorly enough to have lost all 10 of those games. But you just figure if they didn't have the mental strength to kind of come out of that a lot sooner, you figured that they weren't going to be a strong enough team to make the playoffs. But here we are. They've really turned things around from a consistency standpoint within games, from game to game, and looks like now they certainly have the space and need to hold it in the second half here.
It's been something to watch with Philadelphia, who've moved in the right direction. We've talked a lot about Claude Giroux's having a great season. Sean Couturier is having a terrific season as well. But maybe the thing, and they've been working him a lot, is Brian Elliott has provided them with some really good goaltending as part of this run they've been on.
Yeah, and I actually think that he's going to be a key in the second half in kind of the other way in terms of not riding him too hard. They rode him really hard in that first half, and he responded. He's a guy that has been streaky throughout his career and was very consistent. Even when the Flyers were playing poorly in that 10-game losing streak, he was playing fairly well. They were just abysmal in front of him. So I think that if he's going to be their guy, they've got to give him some of a rest in the second half here with Michael Neuvirth, who's come on as of late. Elliott started 37 games for the Flyers this year. The most he started in his career was 51. That was back when he was 25. He's 32 now, so if they use him the same way, they'll certainly pass that career milestone for him. And I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing, because coming down to the last break that the Flyers had, you could really see that Elliott was starting to get fatigued mentally and physically. Physically, the telltale sign is always the goaltender's glove being a little bit further down than it usually is. And they came out of the bye week and played against the Rangers, and he really wasn't very good in that game, and kind of noted after the game his own mental fatigue and saying that he needs to get his game back. So I think he may be there now. He missed the last game before the All-Star break with what they said a lower body injury, but I think that he should be good by the time the Flyers start back up on Wednesday. And I think they just want to avoid putting him in a situation where they make him that kind of fatigued again.
I was going to say that the All-Star break seems to maybe have come at a good time for the Philadelphia Flyers, that Elliott and others can get a little bit of rest. I mean, even those participating in the All-Star game aren't really going to be taxed physically, but just a bit of a physical break and a bit of a mental break for the team as well, because it heats up pretty quickly when the schedule resumes, because they got Washington and they've got New Jersey straight away this week.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the games that they played going into that break, they lost to the Lightning 5-1, but the two games before that were overtime wins against Washington and Detroit. And the third period specifically against the Capitals, it was in BC. The Flyers were very much in survival mode and kind of hung on. Travis Konechny gets them a win in overtime there, and then the same thing happens 2 days later, although the Flyers really didn't play very well against Detroit, I didn't think. So despite kind of their last results in the last three games there, I think that they were a little bit more tired than 2-1 would have them look. So yeah, certainly a team that could kind of use a couple days off to hit the reset button, I think.
Dave Isaac is with us, covers the Philadelphia Flyers for the Courier Post. At Dave G. Isaac is how you follow him on Twitter. How about Travis Konechny, who has shown a flair for dramatics and scoring overtime goals in quick fashion? But that's the kind of contributions from young players that are going to be essential for the Flyers if they're going to continue this success too.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, they came into it with four rookies this year. You knew they were going to be a young team, so they definitely had to, have some of those young guys take a piece of the pie there. And Konechny's done that ever since he's been put on that top line with Claude Giroux and Sean Couturier. He was kind of a guy that in the past maybe didn't necessarily have the best opportunity, just in terms of the minutes he was getting and who his line mates were. There were times last season where he was on a fourth line with Chris Vandevelde, who's now out of the league, and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, who Vegas took in the expansion draft. And that was just a trio that was really never going to have a whole lot of offensive opportunities. He had been a top six guy pretty much all year here with the Flyers. But when you put him with those two playmakers, he's definitely done his part in showing why he should stay in that role.
The other player that hasn't been talked about a lot this year with the Philadelphia Flyers because of the young defense and the stars and Gostisbehere and Provorov and the resurgence of Claude Giroux and Sean Couturier, but Wayne Simmons is also having himself a nice season.
Yeah, he's a guy that started off the year really hot. He had that hat trick on opening night, and there were a couple of other guys too. Ovechkin had one, and somebody else, I think, on the first night of the NHL season. But Wayne Simmons started off really strong, and then he had a groin issue that he played through, and you could see him slowing down. And in the back of your mind, you say, "Man, they should just shut him down." Like, a 70% Wayne Simmons in October doesn't do you any good if he's hurt, or 30% in April. But it seems like he's kind of come around and he's starting to feel healthy again. There was also a game against Nashville where he took a stick in the mouth and there were several dead teeth involved, and it was like a week where nothing could go right for him. But since then, things have gone really well. And I think in addition to what he's done on the ice, he's been a guy who's really taken Nolan Patrick under his wing, and Patrick has been his centerman for most of the season. And in terms of just the leadership and guidance that he's shown, a rookie who was a number 2 overall pick, I think that's one of the things that you can't really quantify for the Flyers, but is definitely one of the things that they're most thankful for in Wayne Simmons this season.
How about the Patience Award for Ron Hextall as well? I mean, there has been so much noise around the Flyers at various times early on in the season about, we got to do this, we got to fix this, we got to do that, and even going back over the last couple of seasons. But he's maintained that this is a process and it is going to take a while, but when we get there, it's going to be good. And I think that Flyer fans are starting to see where the team is going, and I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think they're starting to see it. They would like to see a little bit more. This is a team that's missed the playoffs 3 of the last 5 years, and another one and done in the playoffs wouldn't exactly make the honeymoon a little bit any longer for Ron Hextall, I don't think. I mean, the Flyers haven't won a playoff series since beating the Penguins in 2012, so I think everybody's kind of very anxious for them to take that next step. And it's hard to do when you have so many young guys on the team, for sure. And the young guys are what this team is marketing itself around. I mean, Carter Hart, who won the gold medal for Canada in the World Juniors and has been a top guy in the Western Hockey League for the last couple of years, is a guy who's going to have a lot of pressure on him when he comes up here. And I don't think this year's Flyers team has super high expectations, but certainly the expectations are building for the crew that's coming. Yeah,
and I just... You want more, and you want to win a playoff series, and everybody wants that, but it's just you just have to give these young players time to come into the league, and that's the frustrating part, is that if you start trying to artificially accelerate the process, we make a deadline deal, we bolster this. I think that's a step that's kind of sideways for Philadelphia, and I think you'll end up paying the price for it.
Oh, definitely, and Hextall has done that in that regard, especially with the young defenseman like Travis Sanheim, who, started the year as a healthy scratch for 2 or 3 games, played all the way up until a couple of weeks ago, and then couldn't find his way back into the lineup. He just didn't have Dave Hextall's trust, and that was kind of a shot on the chin for the Flyers, where it was almost like, here's a young player who the progression didn't quite make it. They sent him back to the American Hockey League. Nolan Patrick is a guy who came in after not having a full summer of rehab, obviously sky-high expectations. Nico Hischier started lighting it up in October, and the Flyers stayed with him, had him in as either their number 2 center or number 3 center, and really kept with him in all the situations that they want to groom him in. He's been on that second power play unit. He's been with good wingers, like I mentioned, Wayne Simmons. The Flyers are definitely kind of staying the course, and some of the fans get upset with Ron Hextall because of it, but there's definitely no way that he's wavering in that. Yeah.
Now, that said, is there a deal that Ron Hextall and the Flyers would look at as we get to the deadline?
If there is one, I think it's not going to be for a rental. It would be for a guy who would help them at least next year as well. You look at what they did last year. They traded Mark Streit to Tampa. He was immediately flipped to Pittsburgh. The Flyers ended up with Valtteri Filppula because of it, and there was a pick in there as well. But Filppula comes in last year, and after the deadline was their number 2 center. It worked out very well in a short term. I could see another deal kind of like that. The Flyers don't have a Mark Streit to trade away right now, but they've also accumulated so many draft picks that I think if it was a reasonable deal, that Ron Hextall wouldn't mind adding to this group and maybe getting them a little bit more experience. I think a veteran defenseman is probably one that would do this group a lot of well right now.
Interesting. Be curious to watch that in the next few weeks. Dave Isaac covering the Philadelphia Flyers for the Courier Post. At Dave G. Isaac is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Dave. We appreciate the time, and we'll do it again soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Thanks, Dave Isaac, who are covering the Philadelphia Flyers. I like what Philly's doing. I know it. Everybody gets anxious because, we haven't won a playoff series in 5 years, and we're starting to see that these young, talented players are coming into the lineup. We had Gostisbehere a couple of years ago, and we got Provorov and Travis Sanheim, who hasn't been getting as much attention. Yeah, this is great, and we've got great forwards coming, but it takes time. It's getting there. A year from now, I think we'll be talking a little bit differently about Philadelphia, but I like the direction they're moving. And the worst thing they could do is get a little too impatient this year. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Before the top of the hour, Steve Laidlaw will join us with the Fantasy 5. In the next segment, Phil Pritchard, keeper of the Stanley Cup, with tales of Stanley and what the Cup has been up to with Phil guiding it around Tampa Bay over the last few days. We always have a good time when Phil joins us. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way, and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design, industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. It's the Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Before the top of the hour, Steve Laidlaw with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, helping the fantasy hockey pool. Always happy to welcome our next guest back to the program. It's pretty much an annual visit during All-Star Weekend. He is the keeper of the Stanley Cup, the guy with the white gloves who gets it from place to place safely. Hashtag Stories with Stanley. And you can follow him on Twitter at Keeper of the Cup. Phil Pritchard joins us on the line. Phil, I saw the great photo from yesterday with the cup, with the life jacket around. And is this a first, as far as you know, that the Stanley Cup has worn a life jacket for the first time as it did yesterday?
Oh, you know what, Todd? I mean, always great to chat with you. It's a great weekend here. Gasparilla weekend. It's a huge weekend here in Tampa for those that know about it, the pirate invasion. And it was pretty special. We actually, funny enough, and this is a big coincidence, the first time I recall having a life jacket on was at Steve Yzerman's Stanley Cup party with the Wings 20 years ago. He wanted to go on a sea-doo, and his oldest daughter said, "Dad, we got to have water safety. You got to put a life jacket on it." So we did it then, and we did it yesterday as well on the pirate ship as it invaded Tampa. it was so special to tie in the whole Gasparilla festivities with the NHL All-Star festivities, and it's a hopping town in Tampa today.
Oh, it's a wonderful experience for those that haven't seen it firsthand and up close. The tour that you and the Stanley Cup make every year is remarkable. But at events like All-Star Weekend or the Draft or any of the other events that you make appearances at, just the sight of the Stanley Cup as it arrives and people are waiting for it and looking at it, you can see their eyes open a little wider, the mouths open a little bit with excitement, and then when they find out they can have their picture taken with it, it's got to be so rewarding for you personally to see that constantly.
Yeah, and you know what is all special, Todd, and you know as well as anybody, to hear their stories and to share stories with them. That hockey fans are so dedicated and so traditional and so respectful of everything about the sport. It's great. The lineups have been great here the past 3 days, and the people of Tampa have been wonderful. But to hear their stories and to hear about all their moments in the hockey and Lightning and everything on that, it's so special. But you're right, their eyes are wide open. They're always thrilled to see it, and it's always a special time to share moments with them.
Now, so what's on the agenda today? Will you be bringing the Stanley Cup along the red carpet to enter Amalie Arena later on today for the building, or what's the schedule of events?
Well, where I'm at right now, they're just finishing setting up the red carpet as the players are going to start walking through. And they kind of go right between the pregame, because this year the celebration and all the activities are on either side of the road, and the red carpet is going right down the road. So we'll be able to see them from where we are. And at our display, we have all the NHL trophies on display. But no, we're remaining in one spot. We're going to watch all the players go by on the red carpet, and they're being dropped off and then walking into the arena. And the weather right now looks great, and hopefully by 3:30, the game time, it should be spectacular in there.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, is that the traveling display of all the other trophies that come along with the Stanley Cup. I mean, having your picture and photos taken with the cup is one thing, but to see the history of the league in that traveling display is also something that's so special.
It is, and I don't think and I'm kind of biased a bit, Todd, but I don't think there's any other sport out there that has the tradition of trophies like the National Hockey League does. There's 20 of them in total, and the Vezina for the best goalie, and the Calder for the Rookie of the Year, or the GM of the Year, whatever you might have. They're all beautiful. They're all silver, and when they're in a group together like we are here at NHL pregame, it's spectacular. And for the fans, that opportunity is a priceless one.
Phil Pritchard is our guest, the keeper of the Stanley Cup. At Keeper of the Cup is how you follow him on Twitter. Okay, Phil, I get asked this all the time, so I have to ask you to relay a couple of stories of your most recent travels with the Stanley Cup, because after the Stanley Cup is awarded for the second time in as many years, the Pittsburgh Penguins had their go with it over the summer. You hit the road and you accompanied the Cup on a whole bunch of the tours. Is there one or two places in particular that got your attention from this summer's past tour?
By all means, Todd. I mean, it is the second time in as many years the Penguins won the Cup, so you get to see how creative they are in that. And this summer, we're in 7 countries with the Penguins, so that shows you how diversified the team and the league is. We hit Canada, U.S., Germany, Russia, Sweden, Finland, and Switzerland. So it was a good thing for Stanley's passport this summer. But two that stick out in my mind: Chris Kunitz, who is now actually a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's won the Stanley Cup 4 times now. And you'd think he'd run out of ideas, but this year he let his kids pick. And
nice.
So they had a pool party in just outside of downtown Pittsburgh, where he's got his house. And they had a pool party. All their friends came, and their families and their moms and dads came. And it was just pretty special to see. We've kind of seen Chris grow up through the NHL, and when he first won with Anaheim, and he's won 3 with Pittsburgh. But to see that party unfold, it was pretty special. And that shows what a lot of the guys are. They're family guys. They care about the team, and they care about everyone around them. And I think another one, which was pretty neat, I thought, was Sidney Crosby, who always brings it back home. But this year he went back to Rimouski in Quebec, where he played junior. And he wanted to thank those people, because that's for him. That's where his start was in junior hockey in Rimouski, Quebec. And they had a big parade for him and everything. And I think the common bond is they always think of other people, and that's what's special. And sure, they have the parties and they go to the bars at night, but it's the things they do that really mean a lot to them that the public doesn't always see. That to me is pretty special.
Yeah, those are the wonderful stories that they go back and visit, whether it's their hometown, their junior town, or in this case, Sidney Crosby's done it a few times. And there's often a charitable part of it too, is that they want to raise funds for an arena that needs a little bit of refurbishing or something like that. And the players always focus on that as part of their day with the Stanley Cup. And that's part of what makes the game so great.
For sure. And you hit it right on the fundraising part for their hometown. And it's not necessarily hockey. The town might need a new baseball field, a new football field, and they remember that because when they were in their town, they used to go to that baseball field or play pickup ball or whatever they did there. So they will reach out as well, and every little bit helps in all these towns. But the guys don't forget it. And you know what? As wherever they move in this world, home is always home, and they don't forget that. And that's what makes it special. And I think tying back to the All-Star here with all these players that are here, everyone's thrilled to be an All-Star, but they always remember their home.
Phil Pritchard with us, the keeper of the Stanley Cup, touring around Tampa Bay and on location outside of Amalie Arena. At Keeper of the Cup is how you follow him on Twitter. On the pirate ship yesterday, wearing the life vest. The other question I get is, what's the most unusual liquid or substance that was eaten or consumed out of the cup over the past year?
Wow. You know what? I know we talked a bit earlier about the 7 countries we're in, and they're all different cultures in that. So when you're in Russia, you're having pierogies or borscht soup or something like that. When you're in Finland, it's more of you're close to the Baltic Sea, so it's seafood or something like that. So it always depends what country you're at. We started talking today about the pirate ship. I mean, they had all the pirates yesterday, and they were firing off their cannons. And when we got off the ship, there was gunpowder and that in the top of the cup from the auxiliary smoke from all the cannons that were going off on the ship. So never know where we're going to end up and what's going to be in it, but we cleaned it up good, and it looks as good as ever today for everyone coming to pregame before the All-Star game.
That's the amazing part, is that you guys are so meticulous and always making it look good and taking care of it. You told me this story a couple of years ago too, and I find it's amazing that you keep all the white gloves. How many pairs of gloves have you gone through over the last year?
I wish we had my wife on the phone now, Todd, because she'd be able to tell you exactly. I'm running out of drawer space in my house. You know what? But you're right. Once a week, I keep my white gloves and I put them in a little bag and mark on them. And I guess that's the curatorial side of me working at the Hockey Hall of Fame, just to hang on to them. I do send my wife a postcard from every place I've been, and she told me last year that we just hit the 3,200 mark in postcards. So it's getting up there. It's a lot, and it's all because of this great game of hockey that we all love and enjoy.
Oh, that's a great story too, and thank you for sharing it with us. Do you, in your other capacity, when you have the chance, do you ever just kind of wander around the Hall of Fame? Because that's where you are when you're not on the road with the Cup. Do you ever just kind of wander around and explore a little bit too?
Well, it is. I mean, as much as we work in the business, we're all hockey fans as well. But to walk through the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's an education through photos or through video or through artifacts, and to look at some of the great artifacts and just imagine what it was like playing hockey in the 30s when Eddie Shore or Howie Morenz was playing, to see their equipment and that. It is spectacular, but I think it's always an education process for not just me or any of the people at the Hall, but for anyone that visits the Hall, to see how the game has changed and evolved. And today it's played in 75 countries around the world, I think. And to me, once you've seen a game live once, you're a fan forever. And I think that's what makes it so special.
Phil Pritchard, looking after the Stanley Cup, at Keeper of the Cup is how you should be following him on Twitter. I always appreciate the time, Phil. It's great to catch up, and hopefully we'll do it again soon. Thanks for this, as always. I appreciate it, pal.
All right, Todd. Hey, as always, great talking to you. Have a good one.
Cheers. Phil Pritchard looking after the Stanley Cup just outside Amalie Arena. If you are in the vicinity to head down for the game, or even if you're not going for the game and you want to battle through the crowds, all of the NHL trophies are there on display with the history. And yes, have your picture taken with the Stanley Cup. It's something special. In fact, I changed back the avatar on my Twitter handle the last few days just to have one of the more recent pictures of me taken with the Stanley Cup. Anytime I have the opportunity, I do, and it's been 3 or 4 different times now that I've been able to do it. They'll let you put your hand on it, they'll let you touch it, but Phil will not let you pick it up and hoist it over your head, and that's reserved for the players. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. One more segment up to the top of the hour. It'll be Steve Laidlaw with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you and your fantasy hockey pool. That and much more all straight ahead.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Welcome back. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Final segment for Sunday. We'll be back again next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live at the Hockey Unfiltered app. It's all powered by Primetime Radio. Oh, busy show. Lots to get into, lots to talk about with the NHL All-Star Weekend. The 3-on-3 goes this afternoon. Action resumes again in the National Hockey League coming up on Tuesday. That means everyone will be looking to set their fantasy lineups, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. We always help with the little Fantasy 5 info from our friend Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. Follow him on Twitter at Steve Laidlaw, and he joins us now. Steve, how's it been? Enjoying All-Star Weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get a chance to take in too much of the festivities so far. Been on the road coaching some basketball, so I'm sure I'll take in the games today, though.
Good for you. All right, let's get to this week's Fantasy 5 because everybody's looking for a little help. A lot of leagues are using last week and this week as a combined week in head-to-head leagues. So here's maybe some help for you as you get set to put your lineup into effect. Name number 1 is Kevin LeBanc of the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, with Thornton out of the lineup, you're going to be looking for some help.
Absolutely. And I mean, he's not a direct positional fill-in for Thornton, but I mean, Pavelski's probably just going to take over the number one center load. But certainly they're going to need someone to fill in as their top playmaker. And LeBanc, while obviously not, of Hall of Fame type skills, is still a very good playmaker. He's probably the next best playmaker on the Sharks after Thornton. So they're going to be leaning heavily on him, particularly on the power play. We saw in their last game without Thornton. LeBanc, he skated a season high, 18 minutes, 3 assists. I think he's a guy who, in the next 20 games could put up 15 assists and, a bunch of them on the power play.
Name number 2 on Steve's Fantasy 5 for this week is Ryan McDonough of the New York Rangers, who's having a pretty good season and will be relied upon, and maybe he won't be with the Rangers long term.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what happens with that trade situation, but I mean, certainly we saw he was phenomenal for fantasy owners last season, and even with Kevin Shattenkirk coming on, he has still had a pretty good season, was goalless until their last game. And of course, he was filling in for Shattenkirk on the top power play unit, and suddenly he scores 2 goals. So I think that, he's already on pace for 41 points, but it could be a really strong second half if they continue to lean on him on the top power play unit.
It's the Fantasy 5 with Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. At Steve Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Name number 3 that Steve is recommending is Rasmus Ristolainen. Why do you like him?
Well, I mean, the Sabres power play has finally turned it around. They were basically second last in the league for the entire first half of the season, and this after having the best power play in the league for all of last season. So over the last month, their power play is finally clicking up around 27%, which is right around where they were last season. So they're starting to produce at the level that we were all hoping they would be able to. And with Ristolainen, over the last month, he's got 13 points in 12 games, and he continues to bomb shots from the point. Obviously, he's going to be a plus-minus hole, but he's been that for people in the past. But he's starting to produce those power play points that we're all relying on. So look for him to have a big second half.
And name number 4 comes from the Vancouver Canucks. He's back healthy, back in the lineup, and no doubt will be producing again. And that is Bo Horvat.
Yeah, I mean, he was clicking really well with Brock Besser. That chemistry goes back to the tail end of last season when Besser got a cup of coffee at the end of the year. And I mean, you saw last night, what a talented sniper Besser is. So certainly getting minutes alongside that guy is going to be awesome. Horvat was scoring at a 60-point pace before he got hurt. Even though the Canucks aren't that great, I would expect Horvat to continue to produce at that 60-point rate going forward.
And the final member of this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5 from Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of Dobber Hockey, is Anthony Beauvillier of the New York Islanders. He's certainly been making an impression lately.
Yeah, he's caught lightning in a bottle on that second line for the Islanders. Matt Barzal, Jordan Eberle, their high-flying offense. He's got 8 goals in his last 8 games. I don't know how long this is going to last, but, I mean, jump on him while he's hot.
That's Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. At Steve Laidlaw to follow him on Twitter. Thanks for the info as always, Steve. Good stuff. We'll do it again next Sunday. Have a great week.
Absolutely. You take care, Todd.
Thanks, Stephen Laidlaw from DobberHockey.com. Here once again, quickly, the Fantasy 5 for this week. Name number 1, Kevin LeBanc of the San Jose Sharks. Ryan McDonough of the New York Rangers. Rasmus Ristolainen of the Buffalo Sabres. Bo Horvat from the Vancouver Canucks. And then Anthony Beauvillier of the New York Islanders. If you missed any of those, they'll be up on our Facebook page. We'll put them up on our website. We tweet out at Hockey Unfiltered is our account. We'll put them out on social media as well. Steve will be back with us again next Sunday for I forgot what day it was. Steve will be back next Sunday for another edition of the Fantasy 5 as we try to help you out in your fantasy hockey pool. Action gets going again on Tuesday. It'll be ramping up quickly. We'll be in the 4-week vicinity of the trade deadline. More talk of who's going for it, who's a buyer, who's a seller, which players could be on the move. It'll also be
less than just a couple of weeks until the Olympics get going and in high gear. We'll be following the Olympic hockey tournament. I'm kind of curious to see what sort of interest there is in it. I think there will be some good stories. We'll find out about some players from a number of different countries, not just Canada or the US, who are pretty good hockey players and find themselves in a very interesting position to be members of the Olympics. I think it'll be like other Olympic events. There'll be people that kind of tune in. You'll follow along with some athletes, and they'll kind of go away after the Olympics, and you won't hear about them. But I still think there'll be some good stories. There's good matchups as soon as the NHL action does resume on Tuesday. Anaheim and Boston. Bruins, 18 straight games with a point. 14-0-4. Ooh, something special. Something special. San Jose's at Pittsburgh. Chicago's at Nashville. Chicago's got to win some games. They had a nice victory before the break, but they got to win some games in the final third. LA's in Dallas. Vegas Golden Knights in Calgary to take on the Flames. If you missed it a little bit earlier, the information coming out that Jaromir Jagr has been placed on waivers by the Calgary Flames. This is the start of the process that will free up Jaromir Jagr from his obligation with the Calgary Flames. They want to terminate the contract. He'll be offered around. He's not going to get picked up anywhere. Really? No, I just can't imagine. After all the difficulty that he's had this year, he'll be freed up. He maybe pursue an opportunity in Europe. Maybe he participates in the Olympics, although that doesn't really seem to be on the table. But who knows? If he can pursue his career in Europe, then fine. It doesn't change anything about Jaromir Jagr accomplished in the National Hockey League over his better than 2 decades and 2 stints. Because remember, he left and played in the cave for a couple of years after the Rangers, came back, still had an impact. Terrific player, one of the best ever. It's disappointing the way it ended, but it's also not surprising. At least it's not to me. Wednesday, the Islanders taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs coming up in action. Also, let's take a second, since I just mentioned the Islanders, to shout out to our pal Arthur Staple, who for 20 years has been part of Newsday coverage of the New York Islanders. Arthur has concluded his time at Newsday. He is moving on to other endeavors. He will share what those are. We don't know exactly what they are yet. I sure hope it involves hockey, though. If it's the New York Islanders, even better. I hope he's back and visiting with us again soon, too. Great run by Arthur Staple covering the Isles for Newsday. Terrific guest when he's joined us, and we really hope that he's back again soon. San Jose, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Washington also coming up on Wednesday. Can the Philadelphia Flyers keep going? Can they stay into the postseason? Yeah. Thursday, it's the Blues in Boston, Philly, New Jersey, Vegas and Winnipeg, LA's in Nashville, Tampa, Calgary, Colorado in Edmonton. How did the Colorado Avalanche react after a break? Lost a couple of games after the 10-game losing skid. I think it maybe is a good thing that they had a couple of days off just to kind of breathe and assess where they are. They've moved in the right direction. Now they have to keep doing what they're doing. Could be really good for Colorado. Then it's a busy Saturday, and then Sunday is all afternoon action, of course, because of that football game a week from today. Our thanks to Steve Laidlaw. Thanks to Phil Pritchard for great stories with Stanley. To Dave Isaac covering the Philadelphia Flyers. Joe Haggerty talking Bruins. Corey Hirsch, Vancouver Canucks analyst and mental health advocate. And Sean Leahy as well, all for visiting. Enjoy the 3-on-3 tournament Sunday afternoon. A day off to catch your breath, and then NHL action resumes full speed coming up on Tuesday with a full slate. We'll be back again next Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern. Don't forget about our little Saturday podcast that drop on Wednesday afternoon. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back then. Have a great week of hockey.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.